In this video, we're going to have a first look at Microsoft Lists. It's appeared very recently on my Microsoft Teams tenant. I'm sure it's appearing on yours, whether you use it for work or whether you use it for home or your own business. And I've just gone into it and I'm going to have a look around it. And like you, I'm sure I've been doing lots and lots of research, heard lots about Microsoft Lists. I love project management tools, I love Kanban boards, I love anything visual. So I'm really keen to see how this will work. And then I'm going to look also into how it can interface into Teams, because I really like to use Teams as a hub where I put all my data and I access all of the other apps from Teams. So Microsoft do have some other similar apps. They have To Do and they have Planner. So I'm not quite sure how this differentiates. It'd be good to have a look at this as we go through, and I will sort of speak my thoughts as I'm working through it. But as I understand it, Microsoft To Do is more about individuals and us managing our own tasks and our to-do lists. And Lists is about teams and organisations, where we can manage processes and workflows, and we can track, there's reminders and there's notifications and there's tons of great options within Microsoft Lists that I just can't wait to get into, and I'm sure you guys are the same. So just like any other Microsoft app, I'm in the browser at the moment. There is an app coming out for the phone, but I'm not sure when that's coming out. It did say later on this year, so I will be looking out for that because I do like to use it on multiple devices, and it's great to have an app that works really well, and hopefully it'll have all of that functionality on. So just like any other app, I've gone to my 9 dots and I've found Microsoft Lists, and I'm currently in the landing page when I've selected Microsoft Lists, and I'm using a Chrome browser just in case yours looks slightly different. Right in front of me, it's very similar design to OneNote and OneDrive. I've got a button telling me in the middle to click on new list. I've got some favourite options and some recents, and I've got all of my settings in the top right hand corner. So I'm just going to click on a new list and see where I can go from there. So when I do, I've got options to create a list. I can do one from blank, so I can start right from blank and do whatever I want to do with it. It can evolve however I want. I can do one from an Excel, which is great because a lot of us track our projects and our processes and everything in our to-do list in Excel because it's got some good functions in there. And from an existing as well, so it looks like I can copy and paste the format of a list and create a brand new one, which is a really, really great bit of functionality. And I've got some really interesting templates as well there. So I've got some options to access. I'm just going to access one of the templates and see how that works, because I'm keen to see something that's already preset sort of in there. But it's great that I can create them from scratch, and I've got all of those great options. But I am going to go for event itinerary. That's quite an interesting one. So once I select my template, I can see I've got a bit of an idea of what that's going to look like. That's a great function as well. So I can flick through them all and see which one really works for me. And straight away I can see I've got some really nice colours and some nice visuals which work well for me and the way that I like to view things. So I'm going to stick with the event template, and I can scroll down as well. And I'm just going to, I can even scroll across as well and see what's going on. That's quite nice. I've got loads of detail in there. So this is going to really help me manage myself and manage my projects. So I'm going to click on Use Template down the bottom. And I've got the opportunity now to change the name, pop a description in. I can even choose a colour. So I think that's when it pops up on my homepage. This is a colour. If I want to use a specific branding, I am going to leave it as the general colour, the one that's auto-picked. And I'm going to leave the icon the same as well, but I can change the icon to make it more relevant to maybe a different list if I'm using this template for something else. And I've even got the option to save it to different things. So I can save it to my list, and I can save it to different sites. So different SharePoint sites as well. I've got that option. I'm just going to click on create and create my first list. So as soon as I've clicked on create, I'm now in my list. I've got a toolbar at the top giving me options here. Clicking on new, event in grid view. So if I click on there, I can have a look. Yep, nice grids. Very similar to Excel, so nice way of working there. I can share it. That's usually over the right hand side in some of the other apps, so it's nice that it's already there and it's right in the thick of my options that I can play around with this list. Good old export to Excel is something that we always need. We've got power apps and automate options, which are great. And I've even got 3 dots where I can get alerts, and I can even manage those alerts. So I've got tons of great options just in this top bar. Finally, over to the right, I can see different types of views. So I've got grid view, I've got list view, and I can also see it as a gallery and calendar sort of view as well, if I've got that option there. So I've got really great options to change the way I want to visualize my lists, my data, my things that I need to work on and do. So loads of great options in there. I'm just going to add something in. And I can see I've got a plus. It's actually created my first row and it's available for me. And I've got a new button at the top. I just want to see what this new button does. Okay, so this gives me a new item to create. So I've got a session name. I'm going to create an opening session. That is mandatory. I can see I've got my little asterisk there. So I can see just down, I can add in different types. Okay, so because it's an event itinerary, I've got, and then it's opening session, I'm going to go for keynote, but I've got workshop, breakout. I can really schedule my session, my event on how it wants to be. I'm going to pop keynote in there. I've got a description, speakers, so I can link different people in the company to this part of the event, and all my start and end dates and times. So I'm just going to pop something in there. I'm going to click on the calendar, yep, and that's going to come through as Monday next week. I'm going to do the same thing for the end time, but I'm going to drop down that. Okay, that's a nice way, and give it an hour. I've even got capacity, location, got another drop down there. Okay, so that's a few interesting places. It doesn't really work for me at the moment, so I can look into how I can change that so that the more relevant the options that pop up. I've got capacity options and I can add notes and attachments. I've got loads of ways of adding loads of content for that individual session into this part of the list. And I think I've got quite a nice few options there. Edit form, all sorts of options at the top to play around with. I'm just going to click on save and pop that in there. So immediately I've got my opening session. I've got some blank spaces because I haven't filled all the detail in. I can see it's keynote, so it's nice and visual, and scroll across. I've even got a plus, so I can add more columns into this and add more bits of data, which is great. So lots of opportunity there. Click on add new item, and actually I don't need to click on new at the top. That's quite cool. I can just put the options in here, and I'm going to make a hazard a guess. Yep, and I was right. I can tab across and pop in my detail without even going and clicking on that, so it's even easier to add my information in. So I'm going to do a workshop, tab it across. So tab works really well to make this. Brilliant. And when I click on that box as well, I can pop in my date, my time, click on it. I'm going to go for the same date. Just wondering if I can overtype that in. I can, because it's much, much easier to work with. click on the tick. And again, I'm just going to click there and stick this one in for an hour as well. So I've got a couple of options in there. If I scroll across, there might be anything else I need to finish. So I'm just going to tab across. There we go. So I needed to go across to the end and fill out all the information, so it went down to the next item, and that's when my session type went to blue. So it highlighted now my workshop. So I've got a couple of great things in there to work on, and this is a really great visual way of seeing my list, my event itinerary. You can even favourite it, bookmark it, whichever way you want to use. Got tons of nice options. I'm just going to have a click around and see what sharing looks like. See if, yes, it looks like it's really similar to if you've ever used OneDrive or OneNote. I've got the same similar sharing option screen where I can type in the person's name, decide if I want them to edit and give them a message, and then grant them access to my list as well. So nice way of working there. I'm just going to click on the cross, and I'm interested also in looking at automate. So I do have the option to create flows, see my flows, which I'll play out a bit later. I've got alerts, manage alerts, and power apps. I can create apps like I mentioned before. I've got some nice ways of working in this one as well. So I've had a quick peek around event itinerary. I'm going to go and have a look at some other ways of creating lists as well. So I just want to come back to my home page, and I do that by clicking on Microsoft Lists, and it's now there in my recent lists. And if I'd bookmarked it or favorited it, it would be in my favourite section as well. So I'm going to go for a new list this time, and I'm going to create a blank one just to see what the differences are when I'm creating a list. Just starting right from the beginning, see how it works. So I've got the same screen, and I've got a simple form where I can add my weekly planner. If I can type that right. And then I'm going to choose my colour, so it defaults to the red, which is a reasonable colour. I am a blue person now, I do like my blue colour, dark blue. So I'm going to go for that one. And then I've got lots of different options. When I hover over them as well, I can see the different icons. So a clipboard might be quite nice for a weekly planner, just to give me an idea, or it could be a light bulb. I am going to go with clipboard for this one, and I'm still going to save it to my list so I can create it. Then I've got a brand new list to now start working with. So I've got titles, again I've got new, everything's the same at the top, but rather than having columns already in there, I now need to add the columns I'm going to use for my list. So let's go in and have a look what options I've got. So be thinking about this, I would say, like you would do if you using Excel or something else. Think about the different columns and the amount of information you want to add. And I imagine you can just keep adding more and more information as you go across. So you've got 3 text boxes there, single or multiple lines, locations, numbers, yes and no's. Adding persons, date and time, so maybe I want to put a deadline on some piece of work that I want to do, and I could send this to my team, so then we could work on a project together. So lots of great options there. I'm going to add just a single line of text. Oh, and I get to create the column name, which is great. So I've given it a format, and now I'm going to create the name and pop the value in. So I'm going to call this details. Single line of text. I do get to change it as well if I've just decided to pick something different. So I can pick anything else, but I'm going to leave it as single line of text because I just want a quick description of what I need to do. Some options here to enter values, and even more options here. I've got maximum number of characters, so I can define how many characters I want in that. That's really great. and define specific numbers as well, just like you can do in Excel or anything else. If you're expecting someone to enter a number or a date, looks like you can define that sort of stuff as well. I'm just going to click on save because I just want to see how that looks. So I've now got a title and I've got details. I'm going to click on add and just add something in here. So I'm just going to check my emails. Because I've put the details column in, I need to add information here. I could be checking Outlook twice a day or something like that. I automatically have the attachments, but I have nothing else because I haven't added any other columns. So I can really start to build it out how I want to. And click on save. So there we go. I have my first weekly planner in the list. I can soon tick on it once I've done it and go from there. So I can start to add more and more content as I'm going through. I'll start to look into much more in Microsoft lists as I'm getting in there, and I will create some more videos soon showing you lists in Teams and going into more detail where I've added people and I've started to get notifications and all sorts of other great stuff through this. We've got audit history to look at, conditional formatting, if we've got tasks that have gone out of date, so things that you would see on Microsoft Project and stuff like that. So loads of great ways of working. So I'm looking forward to diving into it a bit more. This is just a quick intro for me and for you guys to get you started on lists as well. And just to share some of my initial thoughts. It looks really nice. The interface, really simple to use. I'm sure they're going to build on it even more as it's coming through. And the fact they're building an app and they've interfaced it directly into Teams from the get-go is a really great positive for Microsoft Lists. So I've created a couple there. If you haven't already, go into your 9 dots, select Lists and just have a go and see what you can do.